All right, in this video, we are going to work through an example using constructors. It says alter the contact class, that's version 2 from chapter 5, to use a constructor to set all of the fields. Alter the test contact class to create and initialize two contact objects using the constructor. Okay, so we are talking about in Bitbucket. You should be able to find that. Oops. Chapter 5, classes and objects, and then I think it's lecture code, and then contact version 2. All right, and let's open both of these up. All right, and so just quickly going over this, we have this very simple contact class. This is basically the first class that we looked at of this type. It has two fields, name and number, and then just the get and set methods. That's it. There is no, we did not add any constructor in here, okay? And so we were using the default constructor, right? Remember, if you don't add your own constructor in here, then Java will automatically put one in there. So even though you don't see one in there, there is one in there, the default constructor. And the issue, right, with that was that when we ran this, one of the issues is that, oops, no, when we run test contact, and basically this test contact class is using the contact .java class. So what can happen when we do that? Here in line 6, we are creating a contact object. So if we do that, then we can see that inside the contact1 class, there are some null values in there. Okay, and null values can cause problems in your class, in your program, especially if you don't check for those. It can cause a lot of runtime errors or exceptions, and we'll talk about that later on. But that's an issue. So what we're going to do is alter this contact class and try to avoid this situation. So I'm going to go over to the contact class, and I am going to add a constructor. All right, so constructors are generally public. All right, and remember the rules that we talked about for constructors. A constructor has no return type, so there is nothing right in between the modifiers and the name of the method. Okay, so don't put anything in between there. The next thing after the modifiers is the name of the constructor, and remember, there's also an important rule for that. The name of the constructor has to match the name of the class exactly. All right, so this contact class is called contact. That means that the constructor has to be named contact as well. Okay, next up are the parameters for the constructor. And remember, generally, in these first ones that we do, you're just going to be kind of doing the most basic thing, and that would be to, for every parameter or for every field that you would have a parameter. So I have a field called name. Well, then I'm going to have a parameter called name as well of the same type. Here I have a field called number. So I'm going to have a parameter called number as well. And now later on, as you do get used to this and do more advanced things, maybe you don't want that situation. But for right now, that's just kind of how we're going to go. And then inside the constructor, we are going to do the most basic thing, and that would be to copy the value of each of these parameters up to these fields as well. Okay. And so to do that, it would just be this dot name equals name, and this dot number equals number. All right, and so remember, what does that do? Well, this is a method, right? And so it's going to get called, and some value, some information is going to come into these parameters. right? This is like the entrance. Data is going to come in through this, so this is like the entrance. So some data is going to come into this parameter, some into this parameter, and then what we want to do is copy that to these fields up here. And Java, again, has this nice mechanism where we can just call these the same, but in order to help Java understand the difference between this and this, since they have the same scope, we put the this reference in front of these fields, okay? So now Java knows when you have this dot name, it knows you are referencing this field up here, not this parameter, okay? And that's it. So that's kind of the most basic constructor you can make, other than the default one, okay? And you can see everything compiles just fine in there, no problems at all. So now when I go back to test contact.java, this is the outside class that is using the contact object. You can see that this is going to be broken. When I go to compile this, you can see, right, I get some issues, and not surprisingly, those issues are with the calls to the constructor. All right, and so you get this message on line 6: constructor contact and class contact cannot be applied to the given types. So Java is saying basically, hey, listen, you gave me no information about this contact object that you wanted to create. You asked me to create a contact object, and you gave me no information, but when I go over here and to the constructor, there's 2 pieces of information required, and I don't know what those are. And I have to know what those are in order to create this, because I can't do these without creating that. So in effect, you can kind of see what we've done is require any outside program to supply a name and a number at the time that we create those. That situation where we had a null value when we created the contact object, we can't have that anymore. Okay, so what you're going to do is before, what we were doing was creating this blank contact object and then using the set methods to update the values in there. So now what we're going to do is that information that you were supplying with the set methods before is now going to be supplied in the call to the constructor. So Java's like, nope, I need that information up front. If you want to change the values in there after the object is created, then you can use the set methods to do that. So all of these are gone. I don't need to do these anymore. Okay. Same thing with these things in here. All right, and so now you can see, okay, here I am creating 2 contact objects, and you can see it runs like it did before, and it is shorter than before as well. All right, let's take a look at it in Canvas. All right, and now we can see when we create that first contact object, it's calling the constructor and passing it that information, Bob Brown and this number. And then those values are going to get copied up to, and now we have a contact object with full information at the time that it is created. Okay, same thing for this one down here. And so we can see that's a lot better situation than we had in Chapter 5. Now we've got fully created contact objects at the time of creation, not some blank ones that we had to go set up afterwards. All right, and I think that's it for this one.